There were lots of moments during the course of my career that didn't necessarily go the way I wanted. There were jobs and positions that I asked for, that I applied for, that I didn't get. Um, there were colleges I applied to that I didn't get into. There were medical schools that I applied to that I didn't get into. It all worked out, but at every stage, there were moments that didn't necessarily go perfectly.
Welcome to the long game. I'm Molly Acton. If you're a college student or a young adult trying to figure out what direction to take in life, you've probably realized something pretty quickly. Most of us are just trying to figure things out as we go. The idea behind this podcast is simple. Instead of learning every lesson the hard way, what if we could learn from people who have already spent decades building careers, overcoming challenges, and finding their way? On the long game, I sit down with people who have walked that path before us. We talk about the decisions they made, the mistakes they learned from, and the advice they would give to someone who is earlier in their journey. The goal is to share the kind of wisdom that usually takes years to figure out so that the next generation can move forward with a little more clarity and confidence. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Ted Boyse, Chief Medical Officer at Duke Raleigh Hospital. Dr. Boyse has spent many years building his career and navigating the ups and downs that come with it. And I'm excited to hear more about his journey and what he has learned along the way. Ted, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Molly. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So my first question is, when you were my age, sitting in a class at Duke and trying to figure out what your life was going to be like, how did you actually feel? And not what you were planning, but what did it feel like to be on the side of the unknown?
Scary,
Yeah.
right? It's super scary to have your future path unknown. Even if you recognize that you have lots of good options and that maybe even things will be okay, the fact that it's out there in front of you and there's no one that's going to do it for you and you have to do it yourself is daunting and scary, I think.
Yeah.
It's a long time ago. It's 30 years ago, but I also don't think I was the type of person that wrung my hands a lot. I think is probably a good thing. I'm not a worrier by nature. So
Absolutely. So before medicine kind of became the clear path, was there another version of your life that you imagined, or maybe something else you thought you were going to be?
sure. I mean, as a little boy, I think I wanted to be a pilot. I remember telling my parents that I would never be a doctor. I was very certain about that because my dad was a doctor,
Right.
so I was going to do something completely different. Um, but I don't think I ever seriously considered anything other than medicine, although I didn't have my heart set on it in in any sort of conscious way. I do know that I was a huge fan of the television show MASH uh,
Okay.
when I was growing up, and you're the folks on this podcast probably don't know MASH, but MASH is a show about doctors in wartime, and uh, and I love the show. I love the characters. I looked up to them. They were my heroes.
Mhm.
So maybe kind of subconsciously it imprinted on my brainstem.
Absolutely. And so your dad was a doctor. Did you understand what he did? Or like you had said, you never wanted to be a doctor. Do you think having someone in the medical field in the household influenced you?
For sure.
For sure.
Because I think in a positive way towards it, to
Yeah.
encourage it, because it was the known. I think it's easier to choose something when you've seen someone before you do it and do it successfully. I think for me that said to me, well, if you look at Dad, he's not that great, and he did it. Or I want to be like him too. There's that. Um, so I think that it's the familiar that makes it
Right.
easier to envision.
So, and when you were growing up, your mom wasn't very involved in the community as well. And when you became medical staff president, you said your personal goal was to build a sense of physician community. So do you think those two things are connected? Do you think that what your mom did and what your dad did kind of combined to influence who you are today?
Probably, I would say even more generally, they influenced who I am as a person,
Mhm.
right? And so,
Absolutely.
and who I became is in large part a product of the environment I was raised in, their DNA, right? So, probably all that fed into the decisions I made later in life. For sure.
Absolutely. So a little bit more general, what is the hardest thing you've ever worked, or what is the hardest you've ever worked at something that did not quite go the way you'd hoped? And what happened and how did you deal with that? What did you do next?
Mm. There were lots of moments during the course of my career that didn't necessarily go the way I wanted. There were jobs and positions um, that I asked for, that I applied for, that I didn't get. Um, there were colleges I applied to that I didn't get into. There were medical schools that I applied to that I didn't get into. Um, it all worked out okay, but at every stage there were moments that didn't necessarily go perfectly. Um, I'll give you an example. So I'm currently the chief medical officer at a hospital. Um, I'm 54 and I've been in the position for 4 years. I applied for the position when I was 41. So and I did not get it. I was a finalist for the position. They chose the other candidate. I was disappointed. Um, but what happened then is I went back to my radiology job. I'm a radiologist,
Mm.
and and I actually became the leader of that group, my group, and I then had 8 years in that role. Um, and being in that role, I learned all sorts of lessons about how to lead, how to manage a group of people, um, how to set goals, how to hold people accountable, how to how to well, I learned all sorts of soft skills, how to listen, for instance. Um, and I don't know that I would be as successful or as comfortable as I am in my current role if I hadn't had that prior experience. So
Absolutely. So that setback kind of opened up a new door.
it did, and in fact, it would have been the wrong time, and it might not have gone as well, and maybe I wasn't quite ready, and the people who were interviewing me and making that job selection maybe recognized that.
Hmm.
And so it's hard not to take it as a personal affront when you're not chosen for something.
Right.
But sometimes it might just mean that you're not quite ready, or somebody's more ready than you are. And it only means that uh, you need to try again another time, or invest a little further into yourself.
Right. Absolutely. So, as someone, a freshman in college, 19 years old, as someone who doesn't necessarily know what they want to do, feels a little lost with a career path, and a lot of the people around me feel the same way, but no one really wants to talk about it. So, what advice would you give to someone who feels a little bit lost in their path at my age?
Yeah. Um, so the answer I would give now is different than the answer I would have given you 5 years ago, and the answer that I would have given you 5 years before that. And
Okay.
that's in itself interesting, um, because I think as we go, we evolve and we learn if we're doing it right. And they say there are no young wise people. Um, I don't know that that's true, but there is something to be said that you gain wisdom as you go. So looking back, what would I say to my 19-year-old self? I would be less focused on what I'm going to do exactly career-wise. I would be less focused on what those who are out in the world think of me. I would be more focused on where I am right now and what I'm doing right now. So if I'm a 19-year-old college student, I would be the best 19-year-old college student I could be and not
Okay.
worry so much about what I'm going to be doing when I'm 35.
Okay.
So what's a great 19-year-old college student look like, Molly?
Working hard in classes, just trying to get through the day to day, internships, building community.
Before we started recording, you said a lot going on. You're busy,
Very busy.
very busy. So what do you have to do to be able to manage that? Probably in a way that you were never this busy before, right?
Right.
In high school. So you're learning how to manage your
Absolutely.
schedule. Yes. So that's at that stage, that's one of those things you're learning. So you got to focus on that.
Okay.
Get
Just
organized. How do I
get
do
organized.
that? How are other people doing it? Learn how to do that and do it really well. That's I wouldn't worry about age 35. I'd worry about age 19. Another thing about being in college and being a 19-year-old is a lot of what you're learning is not in the classroom, right?
Right.
Like, what else are you learning in college, you think?
I mean, I think the interactions I have with people on day to day are important. The networking skills, the interview skills. Yeah.
Yes. And those are the skills that whatever you're doing, if you're a doctor, or if you're in real estate, or if whatever you're doing later, those are the skills that you will draw upon. And you're building those skills in this crucible that is college, this very intense social experience of being around peers who are bouncing against one another, evaluating themselves and
Hmm.
others constantly and all the time,
Correct.
sorting themselves, figuring out where they fit. Um, I think the most important job at your stage in life is to learn who you are.
Okay.
What do
So,
you like? Where are you most comfortable? Um,
okay.
that's job one before you can even start to think about what comes next. You have to figure out who you are right now.
Right. So just embracing this time of life rather than thinking 20 years into the future.
Yeah, and do it, but do it in an intentional way. So if you're cognizant of the fact that you're learning social skills and you're trying to get better at social skills, it's not to put a lot of pressure on yourself at all, but to understand that when you're at the dining hall with friends, you, and you're trying to navigate the friend group or the
Hmm.
two friend groups that don't get along or the one person in the friend group who's like annoying everybody else, right? Who you want
Right.
out can't like let me tell you something that happens right now for me today.
Okay. So
It's
it
the
never goes away.
it never goes away, no. But the thing is that you're kind of experiencing it maybe for the third or fourth time. I'm experiencing it for the 50th time,
Right.
and you get better at it.
Just all comes with experience.
It's practice.
Practice.
It's the social practice. So how do you the things to work on are the things like how do you be a good conversationalist? You, how do you ask good questions? Um, to how do you get to know somebody? Um, really, how do you make room for them to be themselves, so they're comfortable being themselves? And
Okay.
then you're also assessing yourself as you move maybe from the classroom to the lab to the gym to the dining hall to the dorm. You're constantly bouncing around different social settings and situations. Pay attention to how you feel in those settings, I think.
Okay.
Where are you comfortable? Who are you comfortable with? Who makes you comfortable when you're with them and why? Hmm.
Interesting.
Do you like to work alone? Do you like to work in groups? If you like to work alone mostly, then that's maybe going to steer you in a different direction than if you really dig being in groups. Or if you're the type of person who likes to bounce between groups and not be tied down to a single group, you're not a person who just makes like one friend and hangs out with them like this all the time. You're a person who has lots of friends. Well, that actually there's a there's careers that look like that. Both.
Absolutely. Okay,
Um,
interesting. So just what I'm hearing is what I'm learning now, what my experiences that I'm having at the moment as a freshman in college, they kind of all combine and will lead me in the right direction.
yes.
Yes.
Yes. And those things that seem like they might be like extraneous or beside the point, I actually are the point
Yeah.
um, altogether. Be a good college. You got to learn how to do the work. You got to learn how to think critically. You got to learn how to read. But as you're doing the academic stuff, you're also learning about yourself. Do you like to write? Or actually, do you like to do problem sets?
Okay.
Do you like to work in a group to problem solve? Or do you like to go and do your piece on your own? All this is really valuable information that if you can be uh, aware of it as you're learning it, you
Mhm.
start to figure out, okay, this is what I like. I don't like that. And oh, by the way, don't be too hasty to decide you're one way or the other. I would say, so these are all things I'm telling you, but I wish I tell myself.
Yeah.
If I went back to me, I went to Duke went in college. I was very lucky to go to Duke. It was a great place, great environment. Did I take
Yeah.
advantage of it like I could have? No,
Okay. In
no.
what ways?
I would have joined more things.
Okay.
I was afraid to join things. I thought everything that was on the bulletin board was for other people. I didn't think it was for me. Oh, like there's that and there's that and there's that. Like, what if I had put myself in some of those situations? How much more would I have learned?
Right.
Maybe I would have discovered some thing because later in life there is no bulletin board with 18,000 clubs to join, um, right? And it's a time of life where people are less encumbered with responsibilities of family and spouses and things. So you can you you can join a club that meets at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, if, or 10 a.m. on Thursday, and it doesn't conflict. You have opportunity in like that's the time to do it.
Right. Right now when they're available.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So in this process, looking back on, how you got your path and how you got to where you are now, were there stretches where you just had to be patient and trust the process, and even though things may have not seemed to be moving forward, and how did you stick with it? How did you, when things started to feel tough and like you weren't going to achieve your goals, how did you deal with that?
Okay. I'll tell you a funny story, and then I'll tell
Okay.
you a more serious story. The funny story is, in medical school, you have to take a board exam. It's a three-part exam. And I sat down with two friends to take our first practice test before we started seriously studying, just to kind of do an assessment to see where we are and how much we had to study, like SAT, I suppose. Um, I took it, and it takes a lot hours. And then afterwards, we went to lunch and we sat down, got our lunch, our tacos or whatever, and we pulled out the answer keys and we're grading our tests, each our own tests. And my friend says, "Oh, I got a, whatever," and the other guy says, "I could have done better." So I did okay. And I did mine. Everything was wrong. Everything was wrong. And I'm just marking. And I'm like, guys, I got a 17%. And
Okay.
it was a multiple choice. There were four choices. And my buddy goes, Ted, a monkey could have done better. Um, I had used the wrong answer key,
Oh my goodness.
so it was okay.
So
I
it was
took a breath, but there was
a
a
minute
fear
there.
there for a moment that I was not going to be a doctor.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
yeah, lots of moments, lots of classes where I struggled. It felt like everybody around me was getting it, and I wasn't getting it. There were in undergrad. I remember some of the prerequisites for medical school were hard for me. Physics was hard for me, um, so I got a tutor, and I worked with that tutor after hours a lot to get a decent grade. Um, Once I got out and I was into my career, I was happy with my role. I was newly married, we had children, um, and that was terrific. That was a great period of time. It lasted like 10 years. I had no other responsibilities except going to work and being a doctor and then coming home. Um, but after about 10 years or so, I started to feel a little bit um, like I wanted something else.
Okay.
like like the newness had worn off. I kind of felt like I had, I don't know if mastered is the right word, but I had it wasn't exciting anymore or challenging in the same way. Um, and that is when I started to explore leadership and started to take some other responsibilities outside of just being a clinical doctor. Um, so I guess the message there is things change over time and evolve. Um, Earlier, I wouldn't have wanted to do something different from clinical medicine because earlier clinical medicine was really challenging, and I was still mastering my craft and um, still trying to figure out if I could make it and be good at it. Right? Hadn't proven that to myself. And then there was a moment where I'm like, okay, I kind of got this now. Hmm, is this it? Should I do something else? Or should I be happy with this? What's wrong with me? That's when things kind of evolved for me. I started getting involved in other things.
Okay. Um, so when things started to feel a little slower, you just decided to pursue other opportunities, pursue new roles, new environments.
I listened to that voice that said, um, why don't you do something else? Why don't you try something else? Back when you asked, how do you know what to do?
Mm,
And I answered a different question by saying, you work on yourself instead. Another way to answer that question is to say, go try it, go watch people.
mhm.
When I was thinking seriously about being a physician, one of the things I did is I spent my summer between my freshman and sophomore year in college working in an OR, an operating room, at a community hospital. And my job was an orderly. So I would clean the rooms, um, the operating rooms between cases.
Amazing.
Um, that was a great job in retrospect.
Right.
That was a really good thing that I did because I was around a lot of doctors and I wasn't in a place with a lot of other students, so I was unique, and so the doctors would talk to me, um, and sometimes they would invite me to watch them work in the operating room. So I would sneak away from my job for 30 minutes and watch them do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, that was really good and at a good time because it kind of confirmed for me that Yeah, not that's the only thing for me, but like I could do that. I could do
Okay.
that and be happy. That was kind of my message. I'm on the right path. Okay, I'm gonna stick with this for now. We'll see.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and it ended up working out great. Um, what do you think the hardest part of your leadership role is that people don't necessarily see or wouldn't guess that that's difficult for you?
The hardest part of which?
Of your leadership role in the hospital.
Oh, yeah. So, as a chief medical officer, I'm part of an executive team that runs the hospital, and that team includes the hospital president, the chief financial officer, who's runs all the books, the chief nursing officer, who's in charge of all the nurses, and so on. My job is the doctors who provide the care in the hospital.
Okay.
I'm not their boss necessarily, but what I do is I help coordinate them, make sure they've got the resources they need. Um, if um, if they need something, I'm there to help. And I'm also a voice for the executive team. It's good to have a doctor in the room to kind of guide the conversation and bring a clinical perspective to what we're saying. So the hardest part of my job, um, I think it's probably the part that's the hardest part for a lot of people's jobs in all sorts of industries. It's people.
Okay.
Managing people is really tough. And this gets back to those skills from freshman year in the dining hall.
Right.
How good are you at conflict resolution? Because I will sometimes sit with a doctor and another doctor who are having a conflict. Maybe they both want the same resource and need to share it. Um, or maybe they think differently about a way a certain kind of case should be managed. It's my job to kind of referee that, talk them through that. Well, those are skills you learn in the dining hall, in the dorm room, all through life, in those friend groups that are so important at that stage. Um, how do you inspire people? How do you motivate people? So you're throwing a party. How do you get people to come?
Right.
That's pretty much the same skill I need when I'm trying to rally the troops around a new hospital initiative. How do we get them excited? How do we get them to see that they want to do this too?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a little bit of sales, it's a little bit of understanding their perspective and speaking to that. And if you can do that to get them to show up at your party on Friday, you probably can do it as CMO 30 years later. Um, how do you, you know, again, you're working on yourself through this, through when you're a young adult. How do you develop and maintain relationships? Meaning, how do you be a good friend? So these professional relationships that I have, that I draw on every day to do my job as CMO, they look a lot like the friendships I had in college. Um, how do people trust you? Well, what do you do? What do you do, Molly, that makes people trust you?
Um, I would say, ooh, I don't know. I hope that people trust me just because I can listen and not I can listen and give them advice and not share what they've shared with me.
Ah, you can keep their confidence,
Yes.
and so that you've earned their trust by they've shared something with you, and then you've not violated that confidence. So
Right.
that often that starts in kind of low level, and then they see that they can trust you with some low level, low risk things, then they'll start to share higher risk and higher level, deeper things. And that's trust.
Okay.
So it's experience. And so leaders often look for ways to earn trust from folks. I try to do little things for people all the time. Um, Now they maybe trust that Ted cares about their situation.
Okay.
And it's the same thing as if you do a favor for somebody. I need a ride to the airport. I'll give you a ride to the airport. You need a ride to the airport? I'll take you. I need help bringing the couch. It's the beginning of the year, and I need to bring the couch into my dorm room. I'll help you out. Um, or maybe I'm not going to give you a hard time because you've got to study and you can't go out with us on Saturday. I'm going
So
to
just the
respect.
little things.
It's the little things. And and you said listen. Nothing better than listening. So if someone tells you something, are you listening? Really listening. Listening to understand, not to respond with your own story, but to understand what they're saying. And here's a trick. It's not a trick. Ask a follow-up question.
Mhm.
If someone's sharing something with you, ask them, tell me more about that. Or what did you mean when you said that? Because chances are when they share something with you, it's probably something that's pretty superficial, super high level. There's probably a lot more beneath that they would
Right.
love to share with you if you invite them.
Okay.
And if you show that you're interested in them, there is no greater compliment. So,
Absolutely.
so managing people though is tough, and that's the hardest part of my job. They've got to learn to trust me. Sometimes I've got to get them to trust each other.
Okay.
And they're not doing all those things that we're talking about with each other. So I've got to kind of get them
Right.
to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting that what I deal with now, um, as a college student every single day is like the hardest part of your job in
yes,
your, yeah. Wow.
yes.
Um,
So it's
well,
worth it. It's worth to be intentional and try to get better at it, and think and understand that what you're doing is not wasted time, or stupid, or
right.
people being people. One of the difficulties though is you're not dealing with full-grown adults. You're dealing with other people who are figuring stuff out for the first time,
Right.
and so you got to give them that.
Yeah. There's a lot of learning going on at this stage. Um, well, before we close, is there anything that I didn't ask about that you'd like to share or any advice that you have?
Yeah. I have two daughters.
Mhm.
They're in college. Um, I get to see things through their eyes. I think kids, well, young adults, y- I worry about how much pressure they put on themselves.
Yeah.
And it's easy as a person who's on the other side of it to say, it'll be fine. You worry too much. Um, but it'll be fine. You worry too much.
Oh my
So I concentrate on the now.
God.
Do the best you can. Learn from it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Put yourself out there. Now's the time for that. Be a joiner. Um, Forgive yourself when you have a bad day. Realize it's not a cumulative score. So some days you have a bad day. Get up the next day and try to have a great day. You know, Sometimes you can meet your own expectations and you have a great day and you're a good person and you open the door for people and you do all the things. And there's other days where you're just like surly and tired and you're not your best self. That's okay. Do your best day the next day.
Yeah, and that's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
Can do.
Um, and don't be afraid to be yourself. Everybody's different. Some people, if you look around, you're going to be comparing yourself to. There's always going to be somebody who's better at you in the class. There's always going to be somebody who's more articulate than you, funnier. Uh, it's okay. Like they'll find their way. Trust me, you've got things that are special about you. Trust in that, and then pay attention to where you feel like you belong, and go there. If it's the people, if it's a friend group, if that's where you feel best about yourself, go there. Hang out with them, uh, um, and and then and then see what you can learn about yourself. That's what I would say.
Hey, that's great advice. Um, well, that's all my questions. And I thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for taking the time. You had amazing advice, and amazing stories. And yes, thank you so much.
Well, my pleasure, and I'm really glad you're doing this. I wish somebody was putting together a podcast like this that I could listen to when I was 19. It would have gone a whole lot better for me. Thank you.